I've been wanting to do this podcast episode for a while, but I know it's going to be a little controversial, and I might even get messages about this one. Totally fine. I'm up for it. Bring it on. But here's the thing. This is a piece of weight loss advice that I absolutely do not follow, but I see so-called experts posting about this, encouraging people to do it. So it's everywhere. And I will fully admit that there are some studies on both sides of this issue. Before I start, I want to say that. But I am staunch in my position that this is not a strategy that women over 40, especially women over 50, who have perimenopausal symptoms, who are in menopause or postmenopausal, I do not think that you should implement this as a weight loss strategy. And here's what I'm talking about. Intermittent fasting. This is probably the diet approach that I get asked about the most by people on social media, people who watch and follow my YouTube channel, by people who come to me by way of Google search and are interested in working with me as a coach, by the 5,000 women who are in my Total Wellness Free group on Facebook. I think I get asked more about intermittent fasting than I do keto, paleo, Mediterranean, carb cycling, macros, calorie counting, you name it. And first of all, let me say, it is used primarily as an approach to dieting with the goal of losing weight. That is what I am against if you are a woman who's over 40. Now, let me tell you, this is in part my personal opinion based on my experience, but it's also based on my expertise in the field of women's wellness and weight loss for women who are over 40 and who are exhibiting symptoms that indicate they are moving into that perimenopausal transition, okay? So with all of those disclaimers, let me talk to you about why I don't adhere to this intermittent fasting strategy and some of the details around that. Okay, so I do not use intermittent fasting, and this can be intermittent fasting that you'll hear people talk about how they'll do, different windows, time windows of the fasting and breaking their fast and how to break their fast. They may be following a 16-8 or they may be doing, whatever. I do not recommend fasting for weight loss, period. Now, one of the things that I should talk about up front is that we naturally fast our bodies. When we go to sleep at night, and we sleep for 7-8 hours, if you're lucky enough to get those numbers, and you should be getting those if you are implementing other kinds of strategies that I'm talking about to take care of your body, your weight, your wellness, and your weight, then you should be getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. But I know that's a struggle. But even if you are only sleeping for 5 or 6 hours, you are putting your body into a natural fast cycle when you do that. So when you get up, whatever it is that you eat in the morning or whatever time it is that you eat, you are doing a natural breaking of a fast cycle. That is not the same, though, as implementing intermittent fasting as a diet or an approach to losing weight. Okay, those are two different things. However, we need to acknowledge that when we go to sleep at night, we're putting our body into a fast state. And there are a lot of reasons why that is healthy and that is beneficial. But again, that's different from intentionally restricting your eating window to an 8-hour window or a 6-hour window or whatever it is that you're adhering to, okay? And those numbers are all different based on whoever it is that you're following and whatever kind of, BS they are pumping. And I'm sorry, No, I'm not sorry. I won't apologize for that. I was going to say I'm sorry for, kind of, poo-pooing it in that way or sounding like that I'm, being mean. But the truth is there's a lot of garbage out there on the internet, and not just about fasting, but just in general, there's a lot of garbage around weight loss, a lot of contradictory information, outright lies, a lot that is just a bunch of propaganda to sell products, whether that be pills, shakes, workout programs, whatever it is. And there are a lot of people who don't know what the hell they're talking about, who are saying all kinds of things on the internet. All right. So there's that. So, and I'll just stop there. So, but here are a few reasons that I do not use it myself. I don't advocate it on social media, here on this podcast. And I certainly do not have my clients in our 12-week metabolic resuscitation system. I do not have them adhere to fasting as one of the strategies or tactics in that metabolic program. All right. Here's one. You're going to have issues with your digestion if you fast in this intentional way. We already have a number of problems going to the bathroom. I mean, especially for those of us over 50, it's probably one of the more common struggles that women ask me about. Like, I'm constipated constantly. What can I do about that? And it usually is around constipation more so than it is around diarrhea or a really extremely loose stool. It can be the other, but most of the time it's around constipation. So we already have a lot of struggle with that area of moving our bowels regularly in a healthy way anyway. And part of the reason for that is that we don't drink enough water. I mean, that's true. You do not hydrate in general enough. When you fast, what is likely to happen is that on top of you not drinking enough water anyway, you're even more likely to underhydrate. And let me pause here and say, I think Monkey waits for me to start recording podcast episodes to go apeshit crazy in the other room. So there it is. I'm not editing it out. I am not re-recording. I'm just moving on. So I hope that you have fur babies and you can appreciate the craziness that's going on in the background. So when you fast, you are likely to underhydrate even more than normal. So you exasperate that constipation issue when you do that. You have more intestinal impasse, if you will. You're going to back yourself up even more, and it's going to be even more difficult for you to use some of the strategies that I share with my clients, for example, to get past that. There are things that you can do to improve your digestive process. And if you are constipated, please hit me up. I have a free resource that I can give you with all kinds of natural ways that you can get shit flowing. But that is one reason that I do not adhere to intermittent fasting. It's just going to make that poop issue worse. Another one is you think you're tired and that you have menno fog brain now. Intermittent fasting is going to make brain fog and fatigue even worse. We have really busy schedules, or the women that I work with do. It's already hard enough for you to eat enough food and eat the right kinds of foods and enough of the right kinds of foods in a day, which is in fact needed to lose weight. I know that seems counterintuitive. It seems like, and we've been taught all of our lives, that we need to cut back on calories, right? Well, you've probably been doing that for so long that you have your metabolism all out of whack. It's not flexible enough to adapt to the times when, for example, you're sitting at your desk versus the times that you maybe are out shopping and you're getting more steps in. And so your body has down-regulated for so long, and it has like taught itself and trained itself to run on the few calories that you've been giving it. And it's been doing that perpetually for so long that when you go into using a fasting window, it's near impossible for you to get that internal metabolism fire stoked, which is what we have to do for you to lose weight, okay? And I won't go into like all the sciencey stuff of it, but Trust me when I tell you that intermittent fasting for women our age who have the metabolism struggles that we have and the hormone fluctuations that we have, with intermittent fasting, you are not going to drop pounds. And if you've already experienced this, shoot me a message or write a comment under this episode in the review section and the rating section when you listen to it, and vouch for it. I know that that's a huge struggle, and it seems, like I said, it seems contradictory. Women all the time come to me and say, like, I was advised by my doctor, or I was, reading on the internet and I started fasting, and I figured that if I'm not eating as much food, then I'm gonna drop pounds, right? Like calories in, calories out. Well, not exactly. Not for our bodies, not for our metabolisms. That's not the strategy, the approach that you need to take to get your metabolism to work for you. Intermittent fasting just complicates an already complex struggle that you're having. So you're not going to drop pounds. The other thing is, you're going to, because of that fasting window, likely restricting your calorie intake even more. You're going to get even more excessively tired. And when you get more tired and you are affecting the synapses and the firing that's going on in your brain, it all works together, and you're going to start noticing that your thinking is even more cloudy, and you have more difficulty remembering things. You have more difficulty with complex cognitive kinds of thought processes. You have more difficulty with being productive at work. And most of the women that I help in our coaching programs, you are high achieving women who are advanced in your careers, who have most often terminal degrees. And so you're in executive level positions, certainly professional level positions, leadership positions, where your work is it's not labor intensive, it's mental, it's cognitive intensive. And when your body gets into this fasting state and you're working on fewer calories and your metabolism is further down regulating, that affects your cognitive abilities. And so what you're going to likely see is that you'll be even more tired, like I mentioned, and you're going to make even dumber mistakes. You're going to make even more dumb mistakes, because your body and your brain are being deprived of the nutrients and the fuel that it needs to function properly. And you're already, like I said, likely seeing some of the effects of your hormone fluctuations, and that's probably showing up as brain fog and memory issues anyway. Then you add intermittent fasting on top of that, and you've just got a perfect storm of mind muck. So that's another big reason not to do it, right? Number 3, hair loss. Okay, you've probably already noticed through this perimenopause transition that your head of hair does not look the same. That was one of the big indicators to me that my hormones were going wackadoodle. My hair, which had always been really long, pretty full, didn't have a thick head of hair, but I had a lot of hair, right? And it was shiny and it was pretty and I really liked it. And I was pretty unhappy about the fact that it started falling out. It was getting thinner. It looked duller. And those are not things that are in your imagination. That's actually something that happens as a result of your hormones changing. Well, when you've been already dealing with hair loss and thinning hair, the dullness of your hair, you're starting to notice how much duller it is. Thank you to those changing hormones, but you're just making it worse with intermittent fasting, because it is way too hard to get the added nutrients and vitamins that you need in that restricted eating window. Okay. So your body is going to prioritize functions, and it's going to essentially, in a very simple way of thinking about it, what your body is going to do is say, okay, so when these hormones like fluctuating and things going on here, we need to determine what nutrition, little vitamins, little bit of hydration. We've got to prioritize where those nutrients go, how we use that water in her system. And your body is built to survive. And so when you're not getting enough hydration, when you're not getting enough minerals and vitamins, you're not getting enough nutrition into your system to like fulfill all the needs, when your body says, okay, we've got to redirect the little bit that we're getting, it's going to prioritize, like I said, those vital kinds of functions, right? Your heart has to pump. Your blood has to pump. There are certain, you've got to at least be able to secrete enough bowel that you stay alive. There are certain things that your body has to prioritize purely based on keeping your body alive. Well, your hair being thick and lustrous and vibrant and shiny is not a priority. And so your skin being plump and full and, looking beautiful is not a priority. So, and even your digestion to some extent is not a priority. That's another reason that you can get constipated. And so your body starts to go, okay, so we need the nutrition that we do have going on here. We need the water that she has given us, and we've got to redirect it to those vital systems. And so it's going to take away from your hair. So when you're already dealing with hormone fluctuations that cause your hair to be duller, cause it to thin, cause it to fall out, then on top of it, you're further restricting your nutrition and your hydration with an intermittent fasting window, then that's just even fewer nutrients and vitamins that your hair and your skin too needs. And so you're going to find that your hair will fall out at a more rapid pace. It's going to look thinner. It's going to be duller. It's just not going to appear as vibrant as it did. So if you have used intermittent fasting and you've noticed that, maybe after the fact, now that you're thinking about it, listening to me, that's one of the reasons. And I would certainly reevaluate based on a lot of the things that I'm talking about today. I would really reevaluate your decision to intentionally implement a fasting window. Okay, moving on. Blood sugar. And that is one that I have become increasingly aware of, particularly with some of the health issues that have gone on in my family in this last year. If you intermittent fast, you can cause a hypoglycemic state in your body, which is dangerous, particularly with women who have insulin struggles, who have thyroid problems. And that's a lot of us in perimenopause and menopause. And so if you then on top of it restrict your nutrition through intermittent fasting, you are going to cause blood sugar issues, whether those are spikes that do not regulate in the normal way and become more balanced and even like they're supposed to, or dips in your blood sugar. And both of those can be extremely dangerous and cause a lot of health issues. So if you have had any kind of indication, your doctor has run tests and said, hey, like you're pre-diabetic, you really need to lose some weight because, your blood sugar is not in a good range. If you know that diabetes, type 2 diabetes has run in your family, or there's type 1 diabetes in your family, because you can find out that you have that later in life. But most often the women that I work with deal with struggles around type 2 diabetes. If there's any indication of blood sugar issues, whether that's been diagnosed by your doctor or you've had symptoms that kind of indicate you could be struggling with blood sugar issues, you certainly do not need to use intermittent fasting. And I would highly encourage you to talk with your doctor about any kind of an approach that you want to implement before you do that, or talk to someone who is an expert in metabolism and women over 50. I am happy to talk with you about any of these struggles. I am not trying to give you any kind of advice in a medical capacity or from a physician standpoint. This is not medical advice. This is based on my expertise in working with women who have hormone fluctuations, struggling with perimenopause kinds of symptoms, wanting to lose weight and just generally improve their health. It's based on my expertise in that and the experience that I have had with helping hundreds of women through this period of life and make lifestyle changes that result in them losing weight, having way more energy, feeling much more comfortable in their clothes and in their own skin, and being able to do that in a way that they're able to maintain that weight loss and really feel good afterwards, okay? Another reason that I do not use intermittent fasting and I do not advocate it is about sleep quality. Look, we in perimenopause and menopause, one of the struggles we have is getting quality sleep, getting enough sleep, falling asleep, staying asleep. We already have those challenges, right? And they're related to hormone fluctuations. And there are things that we can do naturally to help those. If you use intermittent fasting as a weight loss tool, though, there are some studies that show that that type of daytime fasting can decrease the amount of sleep that you get, and it can decrease that deep REM sleep that you so desperately need for your wellness and from a health perspective. And Lord knows we need all the quality sleep that we can get, particularly through this time when our hormones are wreaking havoc on our bodies. So you don't want to do anything like daytime fasting that is potentially going to impact in a negative way your sleep quality. Okay. And let me say this too about falling asleep and staying asleep. That intermittent fasting, implementing that as a weight loss strategy, in my opinion, is just like every other fad diet. It is just a fad. So your health, the quality of your sleep, all of the things that I'm talking about are not worth you trying to use a fad diet to drop some weight. Get a quality approach that is the right fit for you, for your lifestyle and what's happening on with you right now, okay? Bottom line too, fasting can really screw with your ability to read your body's natural hunger cues. We generally, the women that I work with, already have a real problem with being aware of and being able to read and utilize their body's hunger cues. That comes from a variety of reasons. It comes from yo-yo dieting, fad dieting. It comes from cyclical dieting that has been implemented for, extended periods. Some of the women that I work with have dieted for months or even years. Even if they didn't think of it as a diet, they've restricted their caloric intake for so long that they've just been on this perpetual diet. When you do that, you suppress your body's cues, natural hunger cues, to the point that you are then unable to feel them and to read them, whether those are physical cues, mental cues, and there are different types of hunger cues that I teach clients about, and I teach them how to reignite their ability to become aware of them, feel them, read them, and use them in their approach to food. Well, when you implement intermittent fasting, you further suppress those clues. Those natural feed me clues are necessary for you to not only lose weight, but for you to reignite your metabolism and for you to be able to maintain the weight after you've lost it in a healthy way without dieting. And so you really don't want to do anything like intermittent fasting that makes that a worse situation. It's already a bad situation. You don't want to make it worse, okay? In addition to that, we all know what it's like once you get past just kind of hungry. If you do feel hunger cues like, growling stomach or something like that, which are the more, they're the more prominent kind of like what we think of when we talk about being hungry. We think about our tummy growling, right? Not only is it uncomfortable, to have that kind of a feeling, but hunger and what you're doing to your system physically and what you're doing to yourself mentally also can affect your mood. And you're already in that hormonal imbalance, which has an impact on your mood. Then you make that even more complicated by ignoring hunger cues that then impact your mood, lower your energy, and bottom line is you just feel like crap and you're less productive. And I, again, you guys, that was my last reason I'll give you. There are a slew of other ones, but I'll stop here so we don't go on for too long. I know that there are a lot of like social media, internet, fitness, whatever gurus who are advocating that, intermittent fasting is the way to lose weight. It simply is not for those of us who are over 40, over 50, who are dealing with, whacked out hormones and a metabolism that's already on the, the fritz. It may work for 20 somethings, 30 somethings. It may be a way for them to diet and restrict calories. And that approach, their body is not going to revolt, against that approach at that point. Give them time, you guys, they'll get here. But for those of us who already know that our metabolism is not what it used to be, and who have busy personal and professional lives, intermittent fasting is just not a good strategy for reaching your weight loss goals. It just isn't. There is so much more to it. There are so many other ways to approach the struggle in a way that you're going to actually solve the problem. Intermittent fasting is not going to solve the root issues with your metabolism. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it answered some questions that I do get from you guys a lot of times around intermittent fasting. And I hope that if nothing else, it has given you some food for thought. And if you were already doing intermittent fasting and it's not working for you, some of these things may be some complications, and it may give you just a little bit of a nudge to reevaluate and perhaps take a break from it and get with someone who can offer you some better advice and a plan that you can implement that really is designed for your body's needs and the goals that you have for your health and your weight. So let me know if this was helpful. Let me know how it sits with you. Let me know if you've experienced any of these struggles. And as always, I appreciate your time being here, and I'll be right back here with you next time.